Hello, my name is Tom Stiles, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show, and you're looking at my new Eton satellite radio. And from my last video, you saw that I was having some kind of problems. Let me turn this volume down. I was having some kind of problems with the external antenna, and I was chatting with one person, and he said maybe it requires a stereo plug and not a mono. Now, I had tried both before. I had tried my mono to my G5RV, and when I plugged it halfway in, it seemed to work. The S meter went up, the signal went up, indicating that it was getting the signal from my external antenna. But when I plugged it all the way in, the signal just completely went away, as if I was shorting the external antenna input out. It's like I was creating a short. So when I got the suggestion of using a stereo plug, I thought, well, that would kind of make sense is if I was using a mono and it was shorting it out. So I had previously used this loop antenna, this KA33, and it had the same phenomenon. And so a few minutes ago, what I did is, and it has a stereo plug on the end. So what I did is I took the amplifier out of the loop, and I just brought the cable that comes off of the loop antenna, which also has a stereo plug, and I plugged it in. I did this before, but I did it again. Let me turn the volume back up. And it's sitting at about a S3 right now on WWV. You don't need the audio really. So I plugged that in all the way, make it click, and it didn't change. Well, maybe it changed slightly, because that little loop antenna is not that great an antenna. You pull it back out. No, it did. It's like I didn't plug it in, but it didn't short out. That's the key thing. It didn't short out, so it didn't increase the signal level, but it didn't short it out either. And this is using a stereo connector. So what I did is I found this little adapter cable, which is a stereo to stereo, male to male, and I plugged that in to the external antenna connection. And right now, and that's all I've got, and right now there's no signal. The signal's been almost completely wiped out. So now I will take the end, the point of my connector that goes to my G5RV, and I'll touch it to the point of this stereo cable pin, and it goes up to, well, for a second there it was up to, it's bouncing around between 5 and 7. So now it's working, and I've got the point to the point. If I connect the point of this to the center, there's 3 bands here. It's doing its thing, 5 to 7. If I connect it to the, what I would guess is the ground, a little signal, not much. But in all cases, it's not killing the signal totally. Well, I take it back. It is, because this little piece of wire is not a very good antenna. So since it's broken the circuit to the whip antenna and now is using this external piece of wire, then there's basically no signal there. But like I said, if I touch tip to tip, I've got a good, strong signal, and I've got this end plugged all the way in. So I'm thinking that, number one, maybe I need a stereo connector, and maybe the polarity is not what I expect. Now let me go back. I'm going to unplug this, and I'm going to plug in my loop antenna, which does have a stereo plug. I'll plug it back in, and I'm getting a reading of about S4 right this moment. So I'll plug it in partly, and I get S6. That's only partly plugged in. I plug it all the way in, and I'm back to 4. So I'm still confused. But it could be that this is wired, I'll call it conventionally, and the jack on this radio maybe is wired backwards. Number one, maybe it needs a stereo plug, and it needs some of the wires reversed. So if I go back and I plug this little jumper in, that little piece of dust off it first. Okay, it's all the way in. Now the signal is gone. And I start touching the various tips. So I touch the point to point, and I've got it S6. Now it's bounce around S5 to S6. If I touch this point to the center one, I've got an S6. If I touch it to the outer one, I've got nothing. So I guess I'm going to have to make an adapter and wire it slightly different than what I would call normal. So I need to make an adapter for my G5RV, so that the simplest thing to do is reverse the polarity and also use a stereo plug, not the mono. I don't think I have this adapter in stereo, this PL 259 to 1/8 inch. I don't have that in stereo. So that means I would have to make another adapter to get it to possibly work with this radio. So the only thing I can conclude here is, number one, is when I plug this mono connector in, it's shorting that external antenna jack out, and so no signal's getting in. When I plug it in halfway, it seems to be working, but there again, it's loose in there, and you don't want to do it that way. So I just thought I'd give you an up-to-date on the antenna connection. My best guess right now is that I need a stereo plug, and I maybe have to reverse some of the connections to match it, because my stereo plug from my loop antenna, the way it's wired, it doesn't work either. It doesn't short it out, but I don't get any attenuation. So that's the show for today. If you have any more suggestions, that was a good suggestion about the stereo plug. I think that is something that is vital, that I have to use a stereo plug and not a mono plug. So if you have any other suggestions, like I say, I probably have to make an adapter, because I don't think I can buy one. Send me an email or a comment. You can send an email to TRRS73@gmail.com. I'm still confused about this radio. I do plan on doing a review of this radio. It won't take very long to do a review of this radio, because it's practically the same as the Grundig G3. The layout is almost identical, as I mentioned. The features are pretty much the same. So it probably won't take very long to do a review. I have not tried the synchronous detector function. I'll try that, try to capture that on video too, see how that goes. So thanks for watching, and thanks for sticking with me. We'll get through this radio review if it kills us. Bye-bye.